Yeah,
I will get you, sucker.
but Kamala put it on the floor. So if that's your opportunity to discover, don't take that shit.
Exactly.
Right? If it was surprising, why did the relief bill, get introduced to Congress a whole year before the outbreak?
Mm.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That means they had a minimum of a year head start on what was about to happen.
Yes, they did, and they had got out the money that they were going to be giving everybody in 2019. In January of 2019, they already had passed the bill so they could start giving y'all relief funds and all this. All this was already planned. I posted a post of we was going to get hit with this. I'm gonna get you, sucker, and they posted that in 2000 and no, it wasn't. It was 1988. They posted it.
Yeah. But just because they don't tell you where it's at, don't mean they didn't put it out in the open.
Because that's what they call they don't want what they call it
The right of discovery.
yeah, and they don't want what they call when you do something and they don't want it to come back on them. They don't want karma.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want karma. So if they ain't gotta directly tell you, all they gotta do is put it out there in the air, and it's up to you because they everything about them is about decoding. If you don't know how to code it, that's your business. So yeah,
Look, inflation. What is that? Where did it come from? How did it get here?
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you don't know what fractional reserve banking is, you don't understand inflation. If you don't understand inflation, you won't understand why you can't buy with $1 today 1/10 of what you bought with $1 25, 30 years ago.
Exactly.
When I was a little boy, I used to go in the store with $2 and get 4 candy bars, a cupcake, and a pop, and still had change.
I remember them days. I definitely remember those days.
Hmm.
Let's see if anybody check out that. So I want to speak on. You was talking about the treaties earlier
Hmm.
and how we got in this mess because a lot of the ones wasn't us. They was hiring. They was having stand-ins to sign these treaties. That's why. Is that why they were so easy to break the treaties because they wasn't signed by the original chief of each.
Yeah.
Um,
So the treaty was never any wasn't worth the paper it was written on. The appearance, the appearance of propriety is all they was after.
mm,
It just had to look legit on the surface,
yeah.
and you gonna fall for it.
Hmm.
And that's what they did. Made it look legitimate by instituting paperwork, which is the paper chain. The more paperwork you try to do to get out the system, the deeper you dig yourself in the system.
I'm
All by design.
Yeah.
So basically, they've been trying to knock off. If they know your bloodline and they know it descended from chiefs, they come and they want to try to knock you off
Yep.
before you
They
able to
want
come back and.
they want you dead. Because they don't want none of us to wake up and tell the people. See, the obligation of the chief, any chief, is when he make a discovery that affect his clan, he tell the clan. And if a chief discovers something that affect the collective clans, it becomes of urgent importance to put it in the public domain so all of the rest of the chiefs on the land know what's going on.
Hmm.
Right? So I don't care if people that disagree with me. Ain't no everybody not supposed to agree with me. Right? So I'm not gonna never get offended because somebody disagree. I'm
Right.
not a Moor, right? But I know the difference between a good Moor and a dirty Moor. Because Noble Drew Ali's literature told me, right? So because it's in the literature how to clearly identify these motherfuckers, I know who's who and what's what. But that's
Hmm.
not my house. I'm from the Blue House. I'm from Growth and Development Nation.
Okay.
So I don't have to clean that up. That's Angel Bay job to clean that shit up, right? That's him, T. Rogers, um, Taj. That's their job to clean that up. That's not my job. Only
Mm.
reason why I'm even mentioning them is because they the ones got infiltrated, right? So because the Red House got infiltrated and they changed the name from Amaru to Moore so that we can match them as Moray, we ain't the same motherfuckers.
Hold on. Can you go back? Say that all again.
So we are Amaru.
The
A-M.
Moricons. Is that what they? I think I heard somebody say Moricons or something at one time.
Look, Amaru is Amur. We used to call this land the Amur Inca, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they came over here and they was something called Moray, Mauri. The word Moor is a new word in the dictionary. It's not 500 years old. It's not older than Columbus's voyage to this land, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at it, it's going to take you to varying different etymological sources of the word because that's what you call a catch term. The catch term is used to group a group of people that don't match all under one banner so that you can deceive the ones who you're trying to deceive,
Oh, okay.
right? So we not all Moors, but the tribes that the Moors infiltrated is the what we call righteous Moors, and the infiltrators is the ones we call the dirty Moors,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now I don't have to deal with them. That has not like for instance, Jay Prince was having the issues with Whack 100. Jay, Jay Prince not supposed to say nothing to him. He supposed to go talk to his elders, his OGs. They sit his ass down and they tell him, nigga, you doing too much. And that's how we resolve that matter without causing a bloodbath on the land. Because all of the OGs know exactly what's going on the land. But if you don't know how Cali move, you won't know what Cali doing. Right? But
Mm-hmm.
because I know the culture, I can read the culture, whether it's in California, New York, Miami, New Orleans, right? I can read the Atlanta, I can read the culture. So I know where we at, and I know where the motherfucking imposters at. I know it wasn't no pale skinned motherfuckers that infiltrated the Nation of Islam. I know it wasn't no pale skinned motherfuckers that infiltrated the Moorish Science Temple. I know it wasn't no pale skinned motherfuckers that infiltrated the UNIA of Marcus Garvey, right? I know that it wasn't no pale skinned faces that slid under the bois, right? I know this because I'm watching the whole shit play out. And then they leaving clues in their literature. Remember, we ain't never supposed to learn that.
Exactly.
Miseducation of the Negro, Carter G.
Yeah.
Woodson, right? So what's the remedy from miseducation to education, right? Well, we can't let the enemy educate us and think we're going to use that shit to get free because he's never going to teach us what we need to know to overthrow him.
Yeah.
So we're going to always be bickering back and forth on a menial level, right? All of the people that's coming out trying to attack Rod Hayes is the motherfuckers that don't know shit.
Thank
They
no
don't
shit.
know they look. They don't know they asshole from a hole in the ground. They don't know shit from Shinola. But they telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. But I got more receipts on my Facebook page alone, without never going to my Instagram, than all of them motherfuckers batched together. All
Yeah.
my receipts is there. So they don't want to go check the receipt because now I'm just on a hey, I did this shit, wake up, it's over. And now they trying to tell the people just go back to sleep. That nigga don't know what he talking about.
That's what half of them doing.
Hmm. That's how you know the difference between them and us. If they
Okay.
want us, you know what they gonna say? Let me see what this motherfucker talking about, cause that shit right there sound too motherfucking suspicious not to look into.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's how we move. They don't move like that. The way they move, shut him down at all costs. Shut him down. Shut that nigga down. He gonna tell it. He gonna wake up the sheep, right? But our
Yeah.
people is the ones like y'all. Hey, Ryan, come over here and talk to us about this situation. Let me look a little deeper into what you're talking about, so I can see if it resonate on the right frequency of the matriarchs, right? And then when I started talking to y'all and y'all telling the motherfuckers that's watching, hey, this exactly what my elders told me, or this is the same way that a spirit told it to me, or however y'all get ready to synchronize the information. Y'all know the difference in a motherfucker that's making some shit up and a motherfucker that know what he talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You can always tell.
So my mama said, wise women get wise counsel, but a damn bitch will lead you to hell. Right? So when they start doing that slimy shit, I know they not one of us. Allah
So
Muhammad said the last trick the devil gonna do is to freely give you his woman. I don't want that bitch. She don't believe, she don't hold the yoni sacred. I can't do nothing with her.
please say that one more. They don't understand that. They don't
If
understand.
our women hold the yoni sacred, and it don't matter which one of y'all house I go over. If a woman come in there smelling, go, she got to go. She can't stay up in here.
That part.
What you mean? She ain't right. What you mean she ain't right? A woman just know. That's what y'all say. A
Yep,
woman
we
just
just
know
know.
something ain't right. She gotta go.
Yep. So I know, us over here been going back and forth with the term aboriginal. So can you expound on that for us a little?
The word aboriginal is a compound word. Ab means heart. It's an Egyptian word. Or is or energy, which is source energy.
Mm-hmm.
The long form of or energy is orgon. Uh, um, the Meta Center, Dr. Delbert Blair goes into a long, lengthy lecture on or energy and how it works. So the or energy of the heart, when we talking mitochondrial source energy, we talking about big mama energy, right?
Okay.
So when they saying aboriginal, the suffix is just tying you to the original heart and the original energy.
Which is Earth.
Yeah,
That's what I tell her. And she knows she knows her
She
children.
knows her children. Yeah.
yeah, she definitely do.
Yeah.
Look, so when the grid finished flipping, because if y'all been watching the Schumann, it's been off the chain,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what they flipped on y'all. They flipped the grid, the
Mm.
electromagnetic grid of the Earth, because it's supposed to be a Shu and Tefnut grid. But they got it on the frequency of Shu and Men, two masculine deities.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
That's some gay
I,
shit if I
I
heard.
just I was just telling my sister and I said, y'all don't understand these people. These people really believe in man and man.
They do.
Well,
They
that's only for military conquest, and they know this. Any man that get anally penetrated is no longer fit to rule.
mm,
They know that. It's written in their doctrine. So that's why they don't play that shit. They'll murder your ass,
mm-hmm.
right? Because they know that by violating the boys, that make them unfit rulers. So what's gonna happen? They're gonna rupture the root chakra. When the upper light shines down to the root chakra, it's gonna give them what you call broken light refractions.
Mm.
When this
Mm,
broken light refractions get to the brain, it's gonna cause some shit called schizophrenia.
mm.
They know what they doing. All of that shit by design. Babylonian sex magic.
Mm-hmm. So I know a lot of us, and I know you've done seen us go back and forth with the Native Americans. Can you break down for those in the chat that might not know how they got here and why they and standing in our place?
Okay, so earlier we mentioned the Dawes Roll is where they did the Great Switch.
Mm-hmm.
When you go back to the history books, it tell you that when all of these ships was coming from Europe, they was bringing servants and indentures.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not telling you who they were.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go back to who Rome fought wars with, because the winner of the war subjugate the loser, and he become their servant, prisoners of war, right? So what they end up doing was they brought Huns, Mongols, and Vedics, what we call Hindus today, and they brought them over here to pass off as what we call today a Native American or an Indian, right? Now they say Columbus was lost and he was looking for an alternate trade route to India. Ain't that what they told us? India wasn't India until to the 1900s. So where in the fuck was this motherfucker going? Right? So they brought them over here as they indentures and as they servants. And during the Trail of Tears, they erased us, reclassified us as Negroes, blacks, coloreds, and they wrote them in as Native Americans and Indigenous Americans. It was all the paper genocide right there. And the reason you know this is because they got some of our culture, and then they got some of the Mongolian culture, and they got some of the Han culture, right? So when you looking and you looking at the cultures, you're gonna know them motherfuckers ain't us. Right? We didn't have a problem with them because some of them agreed to help Big Mama to restore the land, but other ones wanted to be classified as free white persons in law. So they took sides with the invaders. They took sides with the people that brought them over here.
Yeah, and that's what I was telling people like that. They always want to bring up the picture. These are the people of the land. They always been here. I said there was a whole props, nigga. These niggas lived dressed up and when they took pictures.
That's
That's what it
true.
is.
Look, we didn't live in teepees.
Nope.
We took teepees camping with us. But what they've been showing
Exactly.
us is the teepee. What they've been showing us is teepees. That shit came from Mongolians.
Yep.
You can go pull them up, Mongolian tent.
Yep.
And you can see them. That's their shit.
They're just like we brought that up too about the teepees. We didn't live in we invented the long houses, and not only that, the teepees are tents. That's all the fuck they are. When we
Yeah.
went hunting, we had to have somewhere, or we was traveling from one end to another. We had to have something to sleep in, and they showed you this. This is what I mean. This is nothing. They ain't invent no damn tent. All
Look,
that they mimicked
I'm
everything that we
I,
had.
I'm sitting here looking at these teepees talking about shit. Big Mama house was y'all call that motherfucker the big house, the plantation house. That was Big Mama house.
There you go.
These motherfuckers just moved in there and just took it up on themselves to live there.
Now I did find out from, like I said, I have a lot of friends that are Moors, and they don't try to push their thing on me, and I don't push my stuff on them. But they did tell me when they used to call, the high yellow house nigga that they always want to talk about. That house, which everybody wasn't high yellow, their own houses back then. When they got behind in Texas, because they used these pale skins on their land, they didn't know they were signing fucked up contracts with this government. They got behind and they swear they would come and take them and put them in jail and move that motherfucking pale skin into their house. And when he came out of jail, that pale skin was still in his house. So he still lived in his house as well.
Look, this is what they did. This is exactly what they did.
Mm-hmm.
When we traveled across the land, we was dropping children and women off at Big Mama house.
Mm-hmm.
And the soldiers went to fight in the Seminole Wars or the Gullah Wars. While we was down there fighting, right, the Louisiana Purchase gave them backdoor access to us.
Mm.
So when they came in through the back door, them go back to Django, right? Remember Samuel L. Jackson played that Negro?
Yeah.
He was the plantation owner, but he used the pale faces so that the ones in the field wouldn't turn on him.
Huh?
And every time he got kicked out, because the pale faces, when they realized what's going on, they always turned on that house nigga.
Mm-hmm.
So what he do? He run out to the field, gather us up to overthrow the plantation, and then he go tell on us.
Sound like some nigga shit that's going on right today.
That's what they did, right?
ain't nothing changed. They still doing the same thing.
That,
Always somewhere trying to climb the ladder.
yeah. So they was poisoning the priestesses,
Mm.
right? They was lynching and murdering the chiefs. This is all of them people that they was murdering was strategic. Well, none of them motherfuckers haphazard. All that shit was strategic.
So
So if we not looking at it from a military angle, we gonna miss everything.
Do you know about the Titanic?
That was to get rid of the ones who didn't agree with the Federal Reserve System.
A lot of people think it was Caucasians that went under. Well, pale skins that went under, but those was our people that went under. Because those was those filthy rich people that didn't want to agree with that shit they was trying to do.
They gave them all them free trips.
Mm-hmm.
How you gonna run into an iceberg that's bigger than your ship?
That part.
Oh, we didn't see it till we got right up on it.
Boy, I'm telling you, I'm sure learning a whole lot today.
I learned that on listening to Touching this one. And then I went and started digging. I was like, wow, these people are oh baby. When they say it's a
It's
dog eat
all
dog
military.
world. Hmm.
It's all military, and it's smart as hell if you the oppressor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the oppressed never understand what you're doing to them, so they chasing their tail the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't good at chasing my tail because
Exactly.
I don't got one.
Say that again.
I'm a
What?
gorilla. Gorillas don't have tails,
I don't call my
right? Then there's castles that's been vacant. They got caretakers in them, but we left the castles to go fight the war.
And weren't there some of these, like say the middle class at that time was probably the upper class of this time, and they had a lot of their buildings or homes were turned into like orphanages and insane asylums, and they were bringing these children. Where did those little um, modern European Albion children on them trains come from? That they were taking off to places and putting them in these orphanages. Where did they come from?
From priests in the Catholic Church raping nuns in Europe, and the children's mothers was nuns and wasn't supposed to have children. So when we needed to put pale faces in institutions to get the secrets, and we sent for the people that kicked them out of Europe to send who you can. Well, they brought a lot of orphans with them because the patron saint of the land is the patron saint of orphans as well and widows, right? So our clans was taking orphans in from all over the world, not just from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
See, they don't tell you about the Asian ones. And the Asian ones we made pacts with. That's why you have people that look like us with Lee in their name. Verdi Lee, Bobby Lee, Henry Lee, Arthur Lee, Jackie Lee. That's because that's the agreement with them to use their conjure to help break free from the oppressors.
Hmm.
So they came with something called the Sun Wukong key. The Sun Wukong key is also called the Congo key. There's a Congo basin on every major landmass. The Congo key is also called the primate key or the master key. It was the key of Enki, the rulership key of the earth on the Y chromosome lineage.
Okay.
The structure was the women was the lawgivers, the men was the enforcers of the law.
Wow.
And so, in order to be the enforcer of the law, you had to have the Congo key, which
And
is the master key.
was that knowledge or was that something?
It's a form of knowledge.
Okay.
It's a form of knowledge. It's how all of the clans around the world was all practicing under the same ancient practices, but now we in modern times and we need to get back to the ancient practices to overthrow the modern system that has ran amok and led us astray.
So those who had like the master key system, was that like from like was it the guy was named Charles Hanel? Was that having taken some ancient knowledge from us and creating what he called the master key system?
So when anybody that put out a book that say master key on it is coming out of a Masonic lodge.
Okay.
They have codes in those books. And the only way to know what the code is to read the book.
Yeah, the master key system. Yeah. I was wondering if they had gotten that from us though. Was it something that was
all that's our shit.
Okay.
The Masonic Lodge used to be our rites of passage program for the royal families of the earth.
Wow.
But when they infiltrated the lodge, they used it to oppress us.
They turned our own knowledge against us by keeping it from us, learning it, and then, use. Okay.
Yeah. So they keep us ignorant while they know what's going on. That's what they call in the lodge the fiat lux.
Fiat lux, Lux.
Yeah. That means the decree of light. We know it as the biblical term, let there be light. And the light is the Promethean flame. And you know the story of Prometheus who stole the flame from heaven and imparted it onto man. That's wisdom.
Right.
Because what he's talking about when he climbed up to the heavens, it was the rise of the Kundalini energy and the sacred secretion. And once you become aware, you impart the knowledge onto the people who's willing to receive it.
So here's a question: what were we doing before 1492, and how did we dress? Do you know?
When you see those, we wore a lot of bison leather was our standard, and we also use cotton. They talk about the cotton gin that we've been using cotton gins for thousands of years, so I don't know where they get that shit from. There's some plantation owner created the cotton gin. Right. That's something that our people was using long before they came over here. Right. So our clothes was cotton, and those in the north in the colder climates use furs and pelts for clothes.
Now I've seen pictures where I've seen pictures of giant women, melanated women, standing over small, I guess regular size, non-melanated women, as if they, and that these and perfectly proportioned, but big, we were told that at the time back then that, and I don't know how true this is, that the Shirley Temple curls were created by Moorish, Moors, or women, and would put them on the Albion women's hair that were in their control, and it was a sign that they had, I think if I'm correct, that they were no longer like prostitute. You know how they had them in the working in the brothels or whatever, and they would put the Shirley Temple curls in their hair, show them how to dress and all this stuff. But the women were giants. I mean, like, you've seen pictures of Queen Khalifa, and she was a giant. Can you talk about, because you see some of those buildings from the World's Fair we're talking about, the doors were massive. Why were the doors that big?
Before the grid flipped, the people grew much, much bigger because, so our synthesis of oxygen right now is a single oxygen molecule, O1, a single molecule, just oxygen. But before the grid flip, excuse me, the upper atmosphere or the ozone layer, it was down here on the surface of the earth, meaning the air was thicker with oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
And it made us grow to a different height than we do now. So being 7 foot tall was not a far stretch back then.
And so that's are some of the, I know they found lots of graves with giant remains. They call them giant remains, large skulls.
Yeah, a lot of them are Anunnaki too, because they pretty tall.
Anunnaki.
Yeah.
Now those are okay. So when were they here?
Oh, they've been back and forth for millions of years. But they used to didn't get involved in what was going on Earth until they decided to take over.
That's why that movie or that series I told you on Hulu, that because it has Valiant Thor in it and everything, and we heard all about that stuff, and I'm like, wow, they put this in that series, in season 10, episodes 7, 8, 9. It's just they're just filling it all out. And the interesting part, they'll see it. But I don't know. I won't even tell what that is because let them go look at it. I don't want to be a spoiler, but you got to look at it. Again, I keep saying thank you to Sister Ferry LL because she was the one that told me about it. And I said, I'll take a couple of days and look at it. I watched about 40 minutes each. I watched all 4 of them. I was like, I couldn't stop watching it because I already knew about a lot of this stuff from the so-called truther community. And here it is right here on this thing. But if you're thinking about American Horror Story, I would be thinking about ghosts and goblins, you know. And speaking of, you know, werewolves, speaking of werewolves, tell us about vampires versus werewolves and when you told me about us being the werewolves.
Right. So the vampires is the ones who suck our blood. So those were the ones using the Babylonian money magic and blood right rituals to subjugate us. Well, we was the ones fighting them. And some of our clans wore wolf pelts. So we were the ones that wear the wolves, and they was the ones sucking the blood.
So the true what we see in the movie type
exaggeration
is an exaggeration. These are just men wearing wolf pelts when they had to go against these vampires, and they depicted it, you know, in movies, you know.
Right. So the ones that call vampires is the ones who own slaughterhouses now for bloodletting rituals.
This like meat where they killed the meat.
We didn't do that on this land. Right? That was prohibited on this land. No mass slaughter of any animals on this land for any purpose. That's why every family had a family farm. Even if you lived in the city, you went out to the farm to go get your fresh meats. Right? But we didn't have cities. We called our cities towns. Cities is municipalities with articles of incorporation. It's a corporate entity.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We didn't have that. We settle our land according to the people that all feel the same way, normally form into a village. And the village will set up towns and countries to an area to feed the town. The towns were generally made in a circular motion, moving to the center. And the center is where everything with the children took place at the town center. That's so that we can always, and can't nobody get out of there with none of our kids. None of our babies can be taken from the downtown area. That's where all of the mothers congregated at. Well, now what they call it,
they got the squares.
Right, but now they call it City Hall. City Hall was the meeting place for the women in the town to look at the progress of the children to determine what we need to teach them for the development into the future.
So it wasn't city though. It wasn't called City Hall though, but it used
to be called Town Hall.
Town Hall, okay.
They even do now. When you hear somebody call a town hall meeting, they're making fun of us.
Really?
That's a whole mockery ritual of our original custom. We doing your stuff and you can't even see it.
Wow.
It's all a slap in the face to the sisters. Because they controlled the town hall meetings. Just like now, we calling for the three chiefs. Larry got to speak. He had to speak to the. He don't have to tell me nothing. He got to answer to the big mamas on the land. They want to know why we ain't got shit. We want to know where's our wealth. We want to know who's subjugating our children and how we gonna get over this obstacle in order to move into a functional future. He got to answer that. That's his job. As the chairman of the board, that's his job. And he got to have two witnesses, one blue, one red. West Coast witnesses Tukey, and the Midwest witnesses Angel Bay. Because you had to have one of the witnesses that was right up under him.
So someone had just asked in the chat, who are the three kings? That's what you're talking about, right?
Yep. Everything that we do, we have to have a witness of the righteous to verify that we was acting according to the conditions available on the land for her to do what's right.
So why were they arrested or kidnapped? And why? I mean, and for so many years.
It was a COINTELPRO operation.
Right.
Yeah, remember, COINTELPRO's mission is to take the leaders off the land. If the leaders ain't on the land, what's going to happen to the people? They all go, look, people be talking about, I don't need no leader, right? You hear it all the time. That's dogma. Because they same ones that saying they don't need a leader, they either in the church or they religiously following somebody that they seeing on TV every week.
Mm-hmm.
They need a leader. And leaders are not made, they born. Spiritual hierarchy makes them fit to rise through the ranks. Most loved, most respected on the land by the people of the land and those who foreign to the land. Most loved, most respected, and then your natural skill set. What can you do? What did you train your whole life for? Most people don't even know. Some of these sisters went to school to be a nurse, but when they got into the hospital, they decided that this ain't for me. But they got nursing training. They supposed to be doulas. It's not compatible once they get in there and see how the medical field works. It's not tolerable. They can't take it.
Yeah.
Because they're supposed to be a doula. Right? The doula has always got with her a midwife, which is trained in whatever the modern form of medicine is for the day. But she's still practicing the ancient birthing rituals for the children to come back in and to maintain as much of their memory as they can.
When the babies come in, yeah.
Right. So it takes us years to break free from the mental slavery. Right. That's why Marty say, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind, because it's the internal work. But nobody's teaching us what this internal work is and how to do it. They just tell you to do the inner work. Take accountability. How can you take accountability when somebody forced you to do something? And the force don't always have to be at gunpoint. It could be because they limit your options.
Mm-hmm.
Then you forced to operate with limited options. That means whatever you choose to do, it's going to work to the benefit of the one who gave you the option. Because he's not going to never give you the option to benefit you and yours, but he's going to only give you the option that benefit him and his. Big Mama say, leave no stone unturned, so I ain't leaving none unturned. I'm going to tell the whole lie they told. I'm going to unravel it right here for us. You know, and it takes me to repeat it 1,000 times. And that's what makes me have to say to Taj, man, how did you do it? Because I can't do it for 40 years. I can't do it for 40 years, 50 years.
Do we have, when it comes to time, you know, what are we looking at? I mean, you keep hearing this is imminent, the change, this is imminent, but how
it's happening in real time.
Huh?
We train not to see what's taking place in real time for what it is. We can only see it when it's done. Okay. And that's what makes us become impatient. And that's why they came up with this fast food culture, so that we can want everything right now, so we have no patience to fight in the protracted struggle. This has been a protracted struggle. This war been going on a minimum of 500 years on this land. The Inca kids was fighting it over there for 1,500, 2,000 years before it ever came over here.
Where's over there?
What they call Africa. Right?
But they were those are the others, and they're not the ones that were where we are.
No, we different tribes. We kindred tribes, but we different tribes.
Okay.
We used to intermarry with them, just like we used to intermarry with Asia on the West Coast. Mm. We used to go trading with them by ship, and they come trade with us by ship, just as well as Asia.
Here's my question. How did we go from being as affluent and build these palatial buildings, and even go back and look at what happened in Oklahoma when they, so-called Black Wall Street and all that. How do we go from there to now, then going backwards to looking like bedraggled, on the cotton field, out in the cotton field? How did we go from that, from an Atlantis type of existence?
Most of that is propaganda.
Okay, so we never.
So when you see pictures of us wearing potato sacks, mm-hmm. That's propaganda. When you see pictures of us wearing feathers and moccasins, that's more closer to how we work.
So we had feathers and moccasins, and then we had castles, and we wore feathers and moccasins. Okay.
Yeah, that's our culture. Our culture didn't have nothing to do with Mario Brutini shoes, Stacey Adams. That's their culture. Mm-hmm. That they brought over here to influence us to follow their ways. We didn't wear suits with lapels. Ours buttoned straight up the middle with no collars. Or we had pullovers.
And I guess we knew to keep our feet in contact either with the land or with something that was natural.
That's the reason why we wore moccasins.
Right.
Right. And the moccasins, the soles could either be hard leather or wood.
But it was natural.
But it was natural. And the shoemaker was a valued profession. Now, a shoemaker don't mean nothing. We got factories that put them out about 1,000 a day. But the shoemaker was like the iron workers, you know.
Craftsmen. They were craftsmen, skilled craftsmen.
And they had a unbreakable workers union until they started murdering them.
To take over that, to take it over.
Yeah. So when you see somebody that look like us and their last name is Shoeman, they was the shoe man. They was the ones who made the shoe. So they started calling them shoemen.
Is it true that we didn't used to have what we call last names anyway?
No, we had what we call nicknames. Like we would be born with a name, and then as we grow up, we be given another name based on our characters. Like we got Little Squirrel, Boogaloo, Bebe, Shay Shay, all them nicknames. Right. So we would go by the nickname would be the name we called by. But only Big Mama, Mama, and Pops can call us by our birth name because that's sacred.
Yeah, okay, but last names, like you said.
No, we didn't have surnames. They called
so
surnames.
we had descriptions, like you said, if you were John's son, that's you end up being the Johnsons, or you know, you said the shoemaker or shoemaker or
people that Smith, like you got. Like I got a guy I went to school with named Ronnie Goldsmith. That's what their family was originally doing. They was gold smelters.
Okay.
Right. Blacksmith was the ones who worked the iron, the cast iron. They the ones made the pots and the skillets, the cast iron cauldrons and the skillets. Right. So we had different names for describe your profession.
Right.
But
like my name was my birth surname was Dyer.
D-Y-E-R?
Yes.
Yep. So your family probably was the ones who dyed the fabrics. Y'all would have been the Dyer family. So when the people over here refer to y'all in the next city, when you go over there, you take this garment, these white clothes over here, tell the dyers, I need red, blue, green, whatever. Right? So they know when they come to town, hey, where do I find the Dyer family? Oh, that family lived down there. When they came from Europe, they used those as our surnames because they had surnames. A surname is a title of nobility. Everything we did with a spiritual connection, which would make the Dyer family would be the priests who operated the dye. You know, that would be their family function. Right? And the ones who was the shoemen, the ones who made the shoes, their family would be the priest of the shoes. Right? Everything we did, we had a priesthood and a royal family attached to it. That way, because after so long, a royal family gonna get so big, everybody gonna be related. That's how we was over here. And sometimes two brothers will fall out and they'll go separate ways. Big Mama say, well, you go to the south and you go to the north, and I'll see y'all at the family picnic. Y'all just don't bring that bullshit back here. Right? So when we come back to Big Mama house, we civil. We got our own territory, our own vine and fig tree, as Noble Drew Ali say.
Yeah.
But now they got us operating in a system that exploits the organic culture of the people and uses it as a weaponized tool to undermine the people. So they weaponized our culture against us. And if they catch us restoring our culture, they murder us. When you see the strange fruit that Billie Holiday sang about, those were chiefs and priestesses across the land. Those weren't haphazard hangings. And some of them, you see the tree, that's the whole family. And the most feared thing in the South was the black hen, because the black hen was the one under the white robe that led all of the rest of the white robe with the white hens.
Explain. I know what
the KKK was started by Spanish conquistador Moors. the whole dress came from Spain. And they would use the servants, the pale skins, and some of them were still blackamoors under those hoods. And they was the ones who was leading the campaign. And in the South, they derived the name called the Black Hand. Because that's all they could see is a black hand from under that white robe.
I didn't know that. And so when did they take it over and start to just do it with?
When they killed the Continental Congress, right, and replaced John Hanson with George Washington, who was actually Albert Pike. Not Albert Pike, Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma,
right,
with no beard. That's when they made their advance on the land.
Well. Y'all, this has been, what you think? I don't know. You think we're gonna let them go to sleep and sleep on all of this knowledge that you have shared tonight? What do you think? I want to make sure y'all
they got a lot of stuff in this last 3 hours. And
yes.
Some of them gonna listen to it 2 or 3 times because some of the stuff in here is like pretty heavy for them.
What did he say? Did he say that? Yeah. But listen, I'm putting this up. You know, Brother Rod didn't ask me to do this. I asked him for his Cash App. I want, you all to, support the brother. Tell us what you told me what SikApe, SIKAPE stands. You said an acronym on your Cash App.
Soldiers and Illuminati are present everywhere. For a lot of the Tupac fans, don't immediately know what that means.
Yeah.
Right? Because he was Machiavelli Don Illuminati, the advisor to the chief.
All right. Yeah. So we you want to drop any secrets about him? Did he really leave the earth clean? I don't know where he is, but you told me, but you have to say.
Oh, I tell you, he in Cali right now.
Oh, now he's okay.
Yeah, he said you heard a rumor I died, murdered in cold blood, dramatized, pictures of me in my final stages. Mama cried. That shit was fiction. Some coward got the story twisted. Like I no longer existed, mysteriously missing. He was at the All Eyes on Me premiere with Shock G.
Wow.
And he been staying on a reservation in Arizona.
That's what you told me, yeah.
That's what made him arrest DMX down there. For going to talk to him, and they knew where he was at, but they couldn't touch him because they have exposed. Electric producing facilities have diesel fuel generated generators as backups to whatever source they use, like hydroelectric or wind. They got backups that's made of diesel fuel. So if you get an overflow, the diesel fuel engine kicks on to add extra power to the local community. We're running out of diesel fuel. The reason we're running out of diesel fuel is because they are not making the detergents that allows the diesel fuels to be converted into fuel. And so we're going to experience that, but the sooner we separate from the system, the sooner we don't give a fuck about the system.
About paying bills.
Right. The shorter the suffering time is. The more we put into worrying about paying the bills, because look, if everybody at the same time stop paying bills, this the problem that we really truly face with. If everybody at the same side say, I'm not paying my gas bill, you know who responsibility to fall on it at that point?
That government.
The government. The government then is obligated by demand of the people to pay the light bills. Unilaterally across the board. They already been contracted to do that. but the people are allowing them to force them to pay something with the fiat currency, which is just a marker, which is an IOU.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When the contract was in play, we had the sovereign right to issue an IOU as a legitimate currency under that system. Now the fiat currency system is being dismantled piece by piece.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when this system is dismantled, in order for the new system to come up, millions of people going to lose their lights, their gas. They're going to try to serve evictions on y'all, but the landlord see what's going on, he's going to suck it up and not worry about it because he's going to get compensated when the new system come up. But we going to go through a period where everybody going to have to take a little bit of this bump, this suffering shit, in order to get free, because freedom ain't free.
Mm-mm.
You obligated to do something in the name of freedom in order to get free. And sometimes it requires you to make a sacrifice you don't want to make.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I made sure I align my business up to the point where I don't have any of those ties. Right? I got what you call residuals. The residuals come in the form of like social media setups. Since the contract has been claimed, right, or closed, and everything has been claimed by me, then I'm not really under contract to the social media. I seized that shit. I seized it for the purposes of informing the people of what's taking place in real time, right? So their contract has it's non-enforceable contract because I claimed everything on behalf of the people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So in my telephone, these are contracts that when I seized it, they become non-enforceable contracts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, all we got to do is push a little harder on Trump ass, actually.
Mm-hmm. You see,
The military intelligence has this shit every step of the way, and the 200 mules is just the tip of it. No, what was it called? Not was it 200 mules? Yeah, 200 mules. Talking about now, if you know, now we just two average dudes. Now, before we get into this part of the conversation, you got to look at this. You got the greatest military team assembled in history in the Pentagon. You think these motherfuckers don't know what could be done to give the people back their shit? You think they're gonna keep overlooking this shit if I see it? I see it. They can't overlook it.
Mm-mm. Like you said, we I would say low on the totem pole, but yeah, we two regular dudes. So you got the site, then they definitely can see it.
Yeah, because they got more insider information than me, right? And if they got more insider information than me, and I can see it from the little bit of information I got, they know exactly what's going on. So they know. All they have to do now is they don't have to do nothing. All they got to do is monitor. They got the motherfucker hacking the computers on camera, the TV screen, the computer screen while he hacking it. They got the electronic where you push the enter on the keyboard, and at the same time, it's sending all that information that's on the screen over to the computer system. They was filming that asshole while he was doing that dumbass shit. Now, how do they know where to film him at? The Secret Service, the KGB, MI5, MI6. Intelligence communities around the world been linked up to overthrow this tyranny. But in the process, they was crossing each other out left and right. So if we know it, we've seen that the modus operandi is clearly visible. to the naked eye without no extra shit. They don't have to do no deep investigation. Just the surface look, the MO can be seen. Now, all they have to do now is catch it on camera.
Mm.
That's all they got to do is catch it on camera. Once they catch it on camera, right? All they got to do then is present the conspiracy to the public. But they stalling, the white hat stalling because they using the time that they stalling for the people to become aware of what has actually taken place. And it's not just me, it's hundreds of us on social media just telling the story. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's hundreds of us on social media that know the story, thousands of us is now receiving the information.
And that's going to be that snowball effect.
That's where we at with it. Sooner or later, this shit got to be brought out in the open because they can only hold it a secret for so long.
Yeah, we out of that age.
Yep. So when they get to the point where they can't keep it, where they can't let the narrative run its rogue course, rogue also spells rouge, which means red,
Right.
which ties to the Red Lodge. When they get on running its course, it has to be made known to the public because you can't change the government over and don't put the people in the position to know that you changing the government over. We getting rid of these motherfucking rapists, pedophiles, baby rapers, motherfucking child traffickers, women traffickers. We getting rid of these motherfuckers. Right? And the only way we gonna ever be aware of that is if somebody come along and tell us. So once we all become aware, we all get on board with the agenda that we agree. The agenda that affects the most people is to reclaim the earth. That's the only thing that we can do that make any sense. Exercise the first right to the earth right, which is the women's right to the wealth of the earth. Then you exercise the blood right of the KNG family leadership role, which is you got to be a straight bump. Right? I mean, you got to stand up, take the motherfucking drama, whichever side it come from. The wicked or the righteous, but you don't got to get involved in that shit. In your God mind, you above all that shit. The only way to rise above it all, right, is to have no interest in either side. My interest is in neither side. My interest is in my big mama told me leave no stone unturned, and my mama told me don't let nobody take my sibling's shit. My sister's shit been took, and I'm giving it back. That's all. Ain't nothing else to it. That's it. That's my entire agenda right there. Big mama told me to get my people's shit back. Mama told me that somebody took my sister's shit and to get it back. My whole agenda is to get their shit back. I don't care what happened after that. I can go live in the woods, in the hut, in the dirt. It don't matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
Long as, because when you put the power where it goes, everything gonna run the way it's supposed to run.
Mm-hmm. So that's a good segue into this next question. But basically, you were just saying, Mama gave you the play. You out here running it.
Mm-hmm.
Paige Flowers came with, now since the contract is closed, how long do you think it'll take to establish our tribes and kick the imposters out? It's hard because our people aren't ready to stop working and filing paperwork.
You know, that's a good question, but no man know the day or the hour. That means that the women is more privy to the dates than we are, right? Because they are the ones in control of the earth rights. One of the earth rights is to establish events according to prescribed time frames. If we get enough women to give a deadline date, it can be tomorrow. It's over, right? But they have to do it together in a group, right? And so right now we on each one reach one. We're trying to get information that raises the conscious awareness of the condition.
So is that why they used to have multiple oracles working together to kind of see the vision of what was going to happen? And
Yep.
They were all winning, but it was like at least 5 or sometimes 3.
So what normally when you see multiple oracles, they all got a different gift. One might be a tarot reader. One might read runes, right?
Mm-hmm.
One might be clairvoyant, where they see things. Some of them is clairaudient, where they hear things, right? And some of them is clairkinesthetic, where they feel things. And they learn how to translate the feeling according to experience. Experience of life teaches them how to translate their gift into a term that they can tell you what they seeing, what Big Mama is saying with the oracle, right? Once they do this, you're looking at the same problem with entirely different tools of perception, right? So it's like doing an attack with all of the branches of the military or just one.
Because they have different characteristics and abilities.
Yeah, but
That makes
I
sense.
don't
That
know
goes back
how
to that Captain
I
Planet.
don't know how long it's gonna take, but I do know everybody gonna have to go through a rough patch before it get easy.
Darkest before the dawn.
Yep.
Good ass question, Paige. Good question. Somebody said, now why did they report Larry Hoover denouncing the GDs?
Because we growth and development now. We ain't got nothing to do with Gangster Disciples no more.
Disciples.
Gangster Disciples is a government flagged terrorist organization. Growth and Development is a political activist group and a tribal organizing mechanism. Two different things totally. Right? So remember what Tupac or Biggie said in that sitting in the park about Tupac dying? He said, I gotta take my power. Now, since he gone, I gotta take my power and do what with it? Remember what he said? Flip it.
Away. Ooh.
Flip it. Right? So what he mean by that is you take something that they use as our oppression and you flip it. Use it for a come up. Right? We've been changed from Gangster Disciples to Growth and Development. That's not new.
Right, I was gonna say that's been a minute.
But some people hold on to the mob mentality of the ignorant. Whereas if they was growth and development, they would be gravitating more to the organizational structure and the rethinking of the problems in the community to solve problems. That's the difference between Gangster Disciples and growth and development. Those who still identify with the old Gangster Disciples is the ones doing the dirt using Larry's name, dirtying up his name. The ones who are growth and development, you might not ever know they growth and development until they say free Larry Hoover. Because it's a whole different type